What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And today, help me welcome a very familiar face to the channel, to many of you, Eric, the founder of TitanX. And in this stream, we're going to be going over some new stuff that's coming, what's happening in the ecosystem already. We're going to be Hydra, TitanX, TitanX, a bunch of stuff. And we're going to try to keep this nice and concise for you guys so you can get all the juicy bits and get on with your day. So, Eric, welcome back to the channel, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me. I'm really happy to be back here in the studio and to see you as well, and to go over everything we've been working on.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much exciting stuff that we've been talking about. So I'm really excited to hear what you have to share. And I got to just shout out the fact that we're matching in colors. I think this is the dopest looking stream that we have as a setting for both cameras I've seen so far. So I just want to give you that credit there. It looks awesome.
Yeah, TitanX colors.
Oh, yeah.
It looks good.
Big time. So we got a lot to talk about today. So
Hydra launch. I mean, where do you want to start, man? We have Hydra. We have TitanX hitting all-time highs daily, basically. New protocols for TitanX. Where do you want to go first?
Let's start with Hydra, because I feel like there's a lot of people that if Hydra's fresh in their mind. There's a lot of questions about it. There's a lot of just like, trying to learn about what's going on there. So why don't we start with Hydra? Yep. I'll bring up the DApp. And so what are you seeing with Hydra so far? What's your impressions? Yeah, what do you have on that front?
Yeah, so I mean, it's really impressive how much we raised really quickly. I think it's a testament to when you use TitanX as the input for a protocol, how powerful that can be when people are sitting on all this liquid, right? Like we saw Hyper launch, and it took a month for it to get as much in as what we got in a few days.
Yep.
And that was the result, in my opinion, of utilizing Liquid TitanX. If you look at the difference between protocols that have launched with Liquid TitanX versus those that have launched using Ethereum, it's like night and day in terms of participation, because ultimately we're the TitanX community, and a lot of our capital is tied up in TitanX. So it totally blew away expectations. I did believe we would reach the Hyper ranges for the launch, but I didn't think it would happen this quickly. I mean, this was super fast.
I mean, dude, if you remember that, what was it? We were literally talking about this in when I was in another conversation we were having, where we were talking about that sheet that I made, where I was like, Extreme is going to be 10 trillion tokens. And on day one, we smashed that. And I think, what are we at now? We're at, we must be, let me just check something real quick here. I think we're almost 15 trillion at this point. Am I right in saying that?
Let me check TitanXHub premium here.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to do as well. Let's see.
So you can get to it first, but
guys, real quick, shout out to Mike Dean on TitanXHub Premium. If you guys want to get the data that we're referring to here, there is a link in the description so you can save 10% on the cost per year, and it's beyond advantageous. It's beyond advantageous. So just quick shout out to Mike Dean, and for anyone that wants to get do that or be a part of that, you have an option in the comments there. But yeah, what do you see in there, Eric?
14.72 trillion has been used to start miners.
Like,
there's a lot. It's a lot.
My God.
So, and we still have 9 million. What's really cool is the way it's being run right now, it's practically at replacement. Like, we've barely seen any dip, which is insane, because you're doing $3,000 or $4,000 every 30 minutes in TitanX buys. Now, some of that is getting burned, right? 20% of that gets burned immediately off the market. But still, that's a ton of buy pressure on TitanX, and the chart is really showing. I mean, TitanX is actually ripping.
It's pretty wild to watch. I mean, I'm going to bring up the deck screener real quick. I want to look at the chart for Hydra. Let me just do this real quick, because I was really so happily surprised to see that there seemed to be some stability in this chart, which, I wasn't really sure what to expect here. But I mean, we're kind of rounding out here, which is not what I thought. I mean, who knows what's going to happen, but this is just interesting to watch, because if you look at Hyper, even TitanX, when inflation started coming out, it was kind of this nice, just right over time. And this has some shape. Now, who knows what's going to happen here, but it's just interesting. We'll see. I mean, the whole idea of using TitanX as a buoy, right? And then some. I mean, it's way more complicated than that, and way more calculated, I should say. But yeah, what do you make of this so far?
I think it's been kind of expected. We had less basically bonuses up front, which would have created even more of a dump. And if you look at the Hyper chart, which is what this is kind of based on, you could see that there's always kind of a dump in the beginning as people are kind of trying to recompound their miners. So some of the people were profitable, some of them were not profitable. The very short-term ones were not super profitable. That doesn't mean they won't be profitable at some point if you were to hold. So no one has a gun to your head to tell you to sell to recompound. So effectively you're seeing that same dip that you saw in Hyper. And my guess is it will be more shallow and more gradual in terms of it won't go as deep. The dip won't be as deep, and it will probably recover faster. So I'm optimistic. I think it's going to bounce back pretty quick. Now the thing is, like 90% of the supply does come out on the 15th of December. If you look at the premium TitanXHub, you can see that everyone's there was an enormous amount of people going out on 88 on the 88 day. The vortex is there to kind of soak that up. My guess would be, the chart will probably grind around. The volatility will be high. ROI might be a little bit inconsistent on especially shorter miners. And then as that happens, as that 88 comes, that's the big FUD day. That's the shakeout day. That's the day when the vortex is triggered and or around then. And then basically you see the supply get absorbed. So then you have a more consistent picture of what it's going to look like going forward, right? Because you'll know how much you have left in buy and burn. You'll see the amount of miners coming in. You'll see the 88-day supply distributed. So that's when you can kind of say, okay, this is what I can expect in a little bit more of a consistent fashion, although none of it's financial advice or anything like that. But it might be a little bit more predictable, somewhat like Hyper right now.
Right. It'll be interesting to see.
Out. Yeah.
Now, I was real quick. I'm getting some kind of weird echo, and I just want to mute you for a sec and see if I am. Oh, okay. I think I'm getting a little bit of feedback on your end, possibly. But let me just fix it. Sorry, guys. Just give me 1 second here just to solve a technical issue. Okay, yeah. So there we go.
It's on my end.
Yeah. Okay, sweet. There we go. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're good. Sorry. So basically, as you were saying, I mean, yeah, it's it's seeming like the system that you've built. And I mean, think about the thing too is with the liquidity that's there at the moment. I mean, it's already built up to what did it start? It started at like 70K or it's like 35 or 40 or 50K, I think it was originally, and it's already built up to 150K. So that's the community providing LP. Am I mistaken in saying that?
For LP, yeah. So there was an initial LP of about $20,000,
right?
Paired with Hydra, and then yes, the rest is about buy and burn as well, which is putting Hydra. Sorry, TitanX into the LP as people are selling their Hydra into that LP.
Right.
And the rest would probably be user based. Yeah.
Right. Which is still sweet. It's just showing that it's growing that quickly. And I know this is, I don't want to jump too far ahead too quickly, but I mean, this is before the thing that we're going to talk about even comes out. So, I mean, you guys just wait, hold on a second here. Because when we get there, you're going to understand that a lot's going to change this ecosystem. So, yeah, on Hydra, I mean, anything else you're thinking on this front? Anything else with Hydra that you want to talk to the people about?
No, I mean, I would say take your bets when it comes to things shorter than the 88. Like, I think there's going to be plenty of people who have ROI before then. There's potential to even front run that based on how the buy and burn is getting distributed. So I would say, congrats on everyone that participated first and foremost, because ultimately it's been a massive success. So now the goal would be to make sure that this thing is profitable and running well. I really think we hit something awesome with this by not having staking, because it just increases the amount of buy and burn we have to play with, which both benefits TitanX and Hydra a lot. So I really think we're going to be able to, if you look at how much, we just have a lot more capital to play with compared to Hyper, right? Because there's no staking. So I see a bright future for this protocol. Now, it can be difficult in the early days of mining because it's so volatile. So I would say hang in there. And I think it's only going to be going up from here. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but it's only going to be getting better and more clear as to what's happening. Right. Because you have this supply which is coming out, which makes it easier for the Genesis to understand like how to run the buy and burn. But also you have TitanX, which is appreciating, which makes the miner ROI like continue to go up even when selling is happening. So yeah, it's looking really, really good. I was in Singapore. I met a lot of big guys in crypto, I met Ivan from Ivan on Tech, and Ran also from Crypto Banter, and I showed them both Hydra and how much we had raised in a single day, and they were both shocked. So we really are like, I mean, they couldn't ignore it. You know, they both were very interested because this is so abnormal. You know, for a decentralized DeFi product to raise that much in a single day, like I think it was 7 million on the first day or something, absolutely massive. I think that's as much as we got in all of DragonX throughout the entire mid phase, including Genesis, and we got that in basically a single day, right? So people were super like interested in it, and it's kicked off a lot of interesting discussions amongst KOLs in the background. So overall, it's been a tremendous success. And now, you know, it's buying thousands per hour of DragonX, which has been super, super bullish. And, you know, adoption is continuing. We're at such a small level right now in terms of adoption. I mean, it's actually a joke. Like if you look at this price, if you look at this chart and the amount of liquidity, it's just what you're seeing now is really not representative of what this token can be. You know, it's really a matter of adoption.
I would agree. And with DragonX too, I mean, like you said, the holders, if you guys go and you look at the holders, go look at how many people are holding this damn thing. I mean, the amount of room for growth. Yes, there's always people in tokens like this that are going to hold a lot, but comparatively speaking, that's always going to be the case. And so when you consider how low the liquidity is, how early this whole ecosystem is in its journey, where we are in the bull run, where ETH, you know, is going to go. I mean, it's DragonX, it's TitanX, it's Hydra, Hyper, it's everything else in the ecosystem. I mean, coming in, if you're just coming into this ecosystem now, yes, you do have a lot of homework to do, unfortunately. But, you know, if you start at the core and work your way out and try to figure out why this chart's doing what it's doing, why other charts are doing what it's doing, I mean, there's just so much room for opportunity everywhere in this ecosystem. And DragonX is one of the many pieces to that puzzle.
Yeah. And, you know, I've had some really good discussions with KOLs in Singapore. You know, Joe Paris was there. We got to know each other, and people are really excited about DragonX. It feels like it has all the elements of being a massive success for the bull run, and not in a small way. You know, like to be a token that could have 100,000 users. So I think that right now the wind is in our sails. We just need to keep pushing. If you're on Twitter, like, you know, keep up the engagement. You guys are doing a really good job. Keep respectfully rating other KOLs and other influencers, and you know, recognize that we're trying to reach the biggest people in the industry. It takes time. I'm planning to stream with Joe Paris. I think Joe is going to do another dedicated video just on DragonX. His users really get active as the bull run kind of comes into full force. So we're going to kind of wait probably a little bit for that. But yeah, you know, just being a small account with a few thousand followers or a few hundred followers, you can actually reach quite a few people. So don't disregard your own ability to bring DragonX up. You know, you can have hundreds of thousands of impressions even as a small account.
It's all about how you're tweeting, what you're using to tweet, if you're reposting, if you're quoting, what you're requoting. I mean, there's so many strategies that you can employ to keep that going. And I mean, like you were saying, it only like with a bunch of these people at you know, where you were just at, and with like Joe Paris on board, it just takes the right video at the right time for an exponential growth to occur. And so with a community like this, with this much hype, with this much you know, with this many eyeballs starting to notice, you know, it's only really a matter of time. And on that note too, with only a matter of time, we have a lot of stuff coming as well that's only going to amplify this. So I know you've got a couple aces in your back pocket at the moment. Which one would you like to share or talk about first here?
Well, yeah, just to round out the Hydra thing, like, yeah, what I love about Hydra is that it also scales with adoption, right? So like, unlike the buy and burns, which are fixed, the more people we get into DragonX Hydra into that ecosystem, the more we're burning DragonX and the more we're pumping DragonX. So now we are really fully kind of prepped for the bull run and for the adoption. I guess we could talk about Titan Farms first. Do you want to talk about Titan Farms a little bit?
Dude, I'm all for it, man. I've been excited about this one to bring this to the audience and for them to understand the impact and all the ramifications of something like Titan Farms. So real quick before we get into that, I want to just, because I haven't been ignoring you, chat. I've just been making sure that we get into this first here. I just want to say thank you to everyone being here so far. I see a ton of names in the chat, from Hexclips BoroX to Jeremy Lister, Keto Natural, Faudal, Jamie X, the usual suspects, and some new suspects as well. Guys, girls, it's so great to see you all in here. SC Americat, Johnny Papa Vegas. Hope you guys are enjoying the stream. If you guys haven't already, make sure you're smashing that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Much more content coming over the weeks and months as we head into the bull run. And you don't want to miss a thing, because with guys like Eric coming on this on the channel and giving us the complete lowdown, plus new alpha, if you want to call it alpha, or updates of what's coming, you really want to be paying attention right now. This is not a time to be asleep at the wheel. So thank you guys for being here. Okay, enough of that. Anyways, Eric, dude, Titan Farms, what are we talking about?
Yeah, sure. We can go over it. I mean, this isn't officially the launch stream. We're basically finalizing. We are. I think our audit is finished now. We need to double check, but we're either in the final throes of the audit or it's finished. But what's up, Jake? Yeah, no. So basically, Titan Farms looking really good. I've basically drafted the white paper already. I can share that with people who are going to be making videos on it. Just DM me. But yeah, I want to get Mike Dean's chart, that shows Titan Farms and all the diagrams kind of that go into it. But what I love about Titan Farms is that it burns a lot of tokens. It allows us to channel capital from different liquidity pools through tokens to burn the TINK token, which is the Titan incentive token that's being issued to LPs. It also still provides LP fees in addition to the TINK token. So it's really good for LPs, and it also has a ton of features. So just to give you some features, you can basically channel the buy and burn through any LP going into TINK. So we can say, okay, now we're going to burn through DragonX, which means we buy DragonX first. Or we can say we're going to go through TitanX TINK and burn TitanX. We have the ability to gauge different pools. So we can decide how much of the fixed inflation goes to different pools based on the amount of liquidity and not just liquidity, but also trading volume that's available. We can support any token pair on V3. So just think about that for a second. Like, what if we were to support another token that wasn't TitanX that had a huge following, right?
So let's cover that real quick. So what do you mean? So you're saying with any pair in V3, you can support that as a TINK can be earned. Can you go over that a little bit more, because that I don't understand fully.
Any Uniswap V3 LP can be supported through Titan Farms. So you could have Ethereum, you could have a USDC, USDT. You could have Hex ETH.
Oh, I see. So what you're saying is like the LP tokens, or your representation of the pool itself from providing LP, can be staked in farms to earn TINK.
Right. You do not need to be So if Genesis wants to have another community come in and bring their LP fees to burn TitanX tokens, we could do that.
Dude,
it doesn't need to be TitanX tokens, right? So that's one kind of piece of game theory and strategy that people aren't talking about yet, but it's probably something for the future. Like, we want to start with obviously TitanX pairs, but if there's a big community, right, of people who are very interested in us, who might want to, earn some new tokens, and they're okay if some of their LP fees go to buy and burn tokens we like, then we can bring them in, right?
Oh, dude, I mean, you kind of you scale horizontally now. You thicken your liquidity. You are with something like that alone. And I want to go back to the buy and burn stuff you were talking about too. I want to get a better handle on that. But with something like this, I mean, you're bringing accessibility. You're bringing profitability. You're basically making this little honeypot, so to speak, in the best kind of way for people to come and want to participate in, outside of the normal scope of what a typical ecosystem is shaped in. Like, normally, in order to be in an ecosystem, or to profit off an ecosystem, you have to have the token, you have to basically be intertwined from the core, right? But to expand outward, I mean, the possibilities there just explode when you do something like that. So, dude, wow. Okay, so that's crazy. Do you have anything else you want to add on that front before I ask you about the buy and burn and what you said before?
No, I mean, I think, just to talk a little bit about the LPs and things. So we have effectively what we're calling input tokens. So an input token is a token whose fees are basically used to go, that are sent to the buy and burn contract. So there's going to be a Titan Farms buy and burn contract, which will accept any token. And we need to specify which token is an input token. So if we specify a token as an input token, it goes into the buy and burn. So any LP that brings tokens into Titan Farms, if we specify an input token for that token, then that token will go to our buy and burn. So our buy and burn can send those tokens anywhere effectively. You can burn them, or you can send them through to burn Tink, or through any other pair.
So if I can just get this clear, because I want to get this, like, make sure I'm nailing this here. So what you're saying is the buy and burn contract can have the address changed, or the token address changed to receive specific tokens, and then route them to whatever pool based on whatever the end result is for that buy and burn smart contract.
Well, think of it this way: like, buy and burn can take any token. We just need to specify which one.
Gotcha. Yeah. Right.
From the LP, from the fees from the LP, right? So that's step one. So now buy and burn has it. So then we can direct that buy and burn anywhere, because we can specify where the buy and burn goes.
Holy moly, my God, man. Okay, chat, I hope you guys are following right now, because if you are, I can't even speak. That's really, really, really bullish, man. Wow.
Yeah. So that's for input tokens. So what we wanted to do was have Titan Farms be competitive for people that are, am I giving away too much right now? I don't know. It's coming. But we didn't even talk about Hydra, man. It's okay. No, but basically, we wanted it to be competitive, right? So there's the input token, which we specify, but then the other token that is in that LP, that goes back to the user. So you're getting still fees in addition to Tink, So you get the Tink APY, which should be solid, and then you get the fees as well. So it should be really competitive. Like, I think most people who are doing LP should really consider this. Let's get that Titans of LP group in on this. Like, everyone who's serious about promoting the ecosystem should be in this pool. And so let's get people in. The Tink reward should be really good, but you also get fees. And then we say, okay, this is an input token. So this is going to go and it's going to buy TitanX, and then it's going to buy Tink with that, right? So that's what's cool. It's actually still really competitive, because we're not taking all the fees away to do buy and burn. We're only taking the input token fees.
Damn! Wow, that is monumental, my friend. Holy moly!
Yeah,
okay, well, I don't want to ask you to give away more than you want. I'll always take more, obviously. Yeah. But what I do want to ask is, TitanX Ted had a good question here. And so, is it a clone of V3, or is it working with V2 liquidity? What's the underlying tech?
Yeah, it does not clone Uni V3. It's tying into Uni V3.
So that's because it's right. It's farms, right? It's a secondary staking thing, right?
Yeah, it's actually really, really awesome. Like, credit to my CTO for doing this, but it's super gas efficient. What the contract does is it actually manages a single position for all participants. So you don't need to spend the gas to create a new LP position to participate in Titan Farms. You only need to bring your tokens to the front end. And the contract will it will basically subdivide a single LP position, a single NFT, for everyone that participates. So that if you have 10% of that NFT, then you have 10% of the fees.
Interesting.
So that's very gas efficient. So we did that because we wanted it to be something people could use in the bull market.
Oh, that's just fascinating, man. Wow.
I've never seen it done before. It's really innovative.
That's really cool. I mean, I'm sure chat, it's like me, and we need some time to really wrap our heads around the implications of all that. But already the initial's like, wow. I think
it's great.
One thing that's really cool about that, just off the cuff, it's kind of like surface level here, but you, with something like this, you give everyone a reason to hold some of the basically all the tokens in the ecosystem. There's a reason to hold every single ecosystem token, even if that specific protocol, like if with Hydra or any other the smaller protocols, you potentially give them a reason just to hold, which increases the price floor, on average, which
Yep.
will increase the performance and the incentive to participate in the protocol in the beginning, which, you know, it drags up everything else in the ecosystem, which drags up the price of Tink, which makes this
Yep.
whole cycle repeat over and over and over and over again. So just on one level alone, I hope you guys are understanding that this is really, really, really massive. I'm so glad we're having this conversation live, because we actually haven't gone into this, you know, in our own chats as well. So this is cool to have this all come out on the cuff here. So thank you for that.
Yeah, for sure. No, I wanted to make a few other points. I'm kind of blanking on it, but oh yeah, it makes the buy and burn more effective by thickening LP, which is something. It makes all the buy and burns in the ecosystem that are buying more effective.
Can you explain why for the users for the guys that don't understand why?
Yeah, because the buy and burn basically will have less slippage, which means the price will move against the contract, the buying contract less, which means it gets more tokens.
Right.
By having a thicker LP, you actually get better entries because there's lower slippage. There's more coins there for you. So the ratio moves more slowly. So the price moves more slowly.
And just to explain that for the guys who really aren't familiar with slippage or anything like that, you can think about, like, if there's 10 tokens, if there's 20 tokens in a pool, right? You've got 10 on this side and 10 on this side. Let's say it's whatever, it's TitanX and Hydra, right? There's 10 tokens on either side of the pool. If you want to take one token out of one side, that's 10% of that pool that you are essentially removing, and the ratio of those tokens is going to shift significantly. So what happens is, and therefore the price is going to shift significantly. But if you were to go ahead and put 1 million tokens on both sides of the pool, and you want one token out of one side, you're shifting the ratio of those pools very, very insignificantly now, right? So the price won't move as much. Therefore, you get more tokens out of the other side for your trade. This is what he's talking about here. The slippage, when the buy and burn, or when liquidity is thicker, there's more dollars in liquidity. Every single buy and burn transaction gains more tokens out the other side. Therefore, it's more efficient.
Yep. Good explanation. Yeah. So it'll make buy and burns more efficient, which is awesome. You know, there's going to be a threshold. Like, we can't list everything, right? Because we're distributing a fixed amount of Tink. So there's no admin key that can change the issuance of Tink. It's kind of like, actually, unlike PulseX, which the incentive token for PulseX farming, which has an admin key that changes the issuance. Ours does not have that. So we need to decide how we're going to split that incentive token. That's basically a fixed issuance. So yeah, contrary to what some people think, there's not a halvening in incentive token issuance. It's fixed, and it needs an admin key to be reduced. But we're not going to have that. We're just going to have a fixed issuance, and so we need to distribute that, right, between different pairs. So we need to be very selective, right, of what we add. So the first ones are probably going to be the obvious ones, right? The core four. It's going to be Hyper, Hydra, DragonX, TitanX.
Right.
But from there, we're going to look to see what else has the sufficient volume. Ultimately, high volume is what we need to burn more Tink, right? And to do all these fun games with the bind. So yeah, we don't really have a hard threshold, but we would want to have like the top volume tokens, basically. For TitanX and possibly other ecosystems if that time ever arrives.
That makes perfect sense. So basically, just to recap with the emissions, you'll have a set supply that's coming out, like emitting every second, every block, however you guys are going to do the emissions, and that'll just be divided. It'll be fixed rate, and it'll be divided amongst the pools based on how will it just be evenly split between, if there's 4 pools, 25% goes to each pool, or it's going to be allocated differently?
That's another piece of the game theory, right? Like, how do you allocate it based on what kind of behavior you would want the market to take?
I see. Okay, so you could go on the back end and you can take these set emissions and you could subdivide them based on the farms you want to incentivize more or a little less, depending on what
we could
seeing.
basically say, like, we want deeper liquidity here. So we can say run the buy and burn hotter. So we can gauge it differently.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That is sweet, man. I mean,
yeah, it's really powerful. Yeah.
And this is a good question. 10x Ted, man, you're on fire, dude. Good questions. The Tink pairs themselves, will they be incentivized at any point? I mean, this may be going too far in the future here, and you don't have to give away your secret sauce. But it's a good question.
I think probably at least one. There's going to be multiple Tink pairs. Would be my guess. I definitely want a Tink DragonX pair. There'll definitely be a Tink TitanX pair. Those two for sure. But I don't know about other tokens with Tink. Because I mean, I like the idea of the fees going through DragonX, right? I want that fees to buy DragonX first and then burn Tink.
Right.
And I'm sure Jake feels the same way about farms. I'm sorry, about TitanX. Another thing I want to mention is that we don't actually need to use input tokens. They can be burned. So that's an important thing to remember. So
can you clarify what you mean by that?
Yeah, so the buy and burn is very flexible, this new contract. It's actually it's a really, really intelligently, like brilliantly developed contract that has a lot of great stuff about it. And it's very flexible in how the funds can basically be directed. So you can say from a specific pair, burn those tokens. Do not put them into the buy. Do not use them to buy and burn Tink, right? Or do not use them to buy and burn through a different pair. So what we plan to burn Hydra 100%. So we're gonna add Hydra. We're gonna gauge it. We're gonna support LP for it, but then we're gonna burn all the Hydra tokens because we want Hydra to be more scarce.
Nice.
Well, another thing we could also do is we could establish a Hydra Tink pair, and we could burn Tink through Hydra, which would pump Hydra, which would pump everything else, right? It would pump DragonX and TitanX.
Right.
So
right.
I think it's definitely positive for Hydra. It's going to be Hydra burning and maybe even Hydra buy pressure, depending on what we kind of decide. But that's all speculative.
Still, dude, bullish. Wow. I think there's just what I'm hearing is the underlying premise of this is there's just so much you could do creatively depending on what the environment needs, what the system needs at that time to basically walk over to one of the many levers and put pressure on it to leverage the rest of the system upwards whenever you need it. And I think that kind of flexibility is mind-boggling, because what we're touching on here too is only a portion of possibility that can be done over time as the system evolves, as different scenarios come out, as different mining profitabilities start again, as Tink rises in price. I mean, there's just, guys, everyone in the chat, I hope you guys are understanding that something like this is actually like very, 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 very important for this whole ecosystem. And I would highly recommend paying attention. If you don't know about liquidity providing, now is the time to study.
Yeah, you're going to figure out. You can figure it out right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you don't even really need to do the typical stuff. You just need to go to the front end, and if you have both tokens, you're good. Yeah, it's because you don't need to build the LP yourself. You do it right there on the site.
Right. You just need to understand the basics. So you know what you're getting yourself into, really.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean the last point that I made there about Hydra, I think that now that DragonX has like tons of, what do we have building? We had Flux. Congratulations on the Flux launch. We had that launch. That's going to be sending to the DragonX vault. We have Hydra that's sending a ton to the DragonX vault right now.
It's insane.
It's insane. So we've got I think 1,020 ETH coming on the 369, probably more. Then we're going to have Volt. We're going to have AwesomeX. So I think we'll probably have other ones that submit to the DragonX vault. I'm probably forgetting some. But basically we're going to have a bunch of protocols that are already submitting to the DragonX vault, right, which is awesome. Some of those are going to be pairing with DragonX for price appreciation. AwesomeX, for example, is like Inferno on DragonX. So there's a lot going on DragonX. We have Ouroboros coming for lending for DragonX. We're going to have Tink earnings for DragonX holders. So I want to see the next thing that people focus on be Hydra and Hydra burning and Hydra buy and burn, because that's a really powerful lever for DragonX and TitanX. And it just helps keep mining ROI high, and it's really good for the entire ecosystem. So that's what I'm thinking about, is how that could be done. I'm talking to a few teams about what could be done there, but there's nothing concrete yet. But yeah, I would like to see Hydra start to be incentivized in different ways.
I think it's only a matter of time before people, I mean, with the rapid rate of projects coming out, I think it's only a matter of time before someone starts building on Hydra, starts building on Hyper, starts building on like basically all these protocols. So and Hydra is a very interesting one, because it's adding demand significantly. The more incentivized Hydra is for people to participate in, the higher the demand and the more supply is burned as we go into this deflationary phase, which only increases the value of all three, or basically everything in the ecosystem as TitanX pulls up. Plus, as people earn, or as people are participating in this, they're, like you said, they're directly feeding into the TitanX buy and burn, which is already an incredibly scarce asset and is only going to get more rare over time, which feeds in to the flywheel of TitanX itself, right? Which means that you get more ETH payouts from the future payouts from TitanX, which pushes up TitanX and everything attached to it, buys and burns TitanX. I mean, there's just so much to it when you apply the right amount of pressure to the right levers. This whole system just gets trampoline effect, essentially.
Yeah, I would like to see some utility brought to Hydra, or a game. I was talking to some people about some potential games on Hydra. I think that could be really cool, because you know, right now there's not a lot of holders because people are still mining. But after that shakeout happens, after the 88 day, you probably have 1,000 holders or something. I have to look to see how many unique participants there were. Maybe it's on TitanXHub.
That's 1,870 unique users from what I'm seeing here.
Okay, that's a lot. See, that's one of the biggest already in TitanX.
Yep.
Right. So that's right up there with TitanX. So that user base can be leveraged. Right now, people are mining. They're kind of locked. Their Hydra's locked. But as that Hydra comes out, I hope people will build. I think games could be a good way of doing it. I would love to see some kind of service. Like, I think it would be cool to have what they had for Staker app, you know, which was like you could actually do mining right inside the app. It'd be so cool to have like a super app that had, like, you know, you can buy TitanX, or you can use your TitanX and go into like on mobile, just recompounding easily, you know. And mobile service, and a service provider could like take a cut of that, right? Or you could have a white label mining APY solution, right? So I was having some conversations with some exchanges about how could we integrate Hydra to basically be a white label APY solution. There's some regulations coming in that are making it really difficult to do stablecoin yield farming for people in exchange. DeFi is okay. So there's actually an opportunity. I think it's related to MiCA, or this new European regulation.
I'm not familiar with it, actually.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's now considered to be a security to basically offer stablecoin yield, which is so stupid. I mean, the whole thing is just so stupid. Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, but basically DeFi yield is okay, you know. So that's the discussion I was having with an exchange. Basically, they're interested in DeFi yield now. Hydra is a great product for that. Like, it will be better once the 88 comes out, and once there's a shakeout and you can more reliably gauge APY. But when that happens, then I think you have a really great product for people who they might not be knowledgeable about these tokens that can go up 10,000x or what have you, right? But they see 100% APY, and that's interesting to them. So 100%. I would love to see people integrate that into products.
Yeah, like you're saying too, the stability is going to come. It's like if you were to go look at Hyper, like, it went through its initial phase, it did its dumpity dump, and you know, it's then stabilized, and these things are going to have cycles. But the difference with Hydra, that is going to create, you know, stability in the future, you know, to some degree, is something like things like you were saying, these services farms, where you want to hold the damn token. If you need, like, taking, like, protocols that are constantly taking and using to mine are fantastic, but playing the same game over and over and over, I think is limited in in people's willingness to continue to play the game. So I think, like you're saying, like, Titan Farms is a new game. That's a new DeFi game, some sort of service like you were mentioning, like an actual game, expanding the palette of what people have to choose from, I think is a very, very important thing for new builders or current builders to consider for the ecosystem, because that just compounds things when you can have all different walks of life have a reason to come over and play in the sandbox, instead of it just being like, if you like mining, come over here. If you like, you know, auctions, come over here. Which all those are fantastic. That's not knocking that. Those are all fantastic. They're working great. I love the systems that we have, but it's expansion that I think is important for people to consider as well. And that's what I'm hearing from you, if I'm hearing correctly.
Yeah, for sure. You don't need to make money just by launching a new token. You know, you can build on Hydra It has a really good APY, and you can offer an APY service, you know, and you could take a piece of that. That's what Staker app did, you know, for people who are in Hex, and I think that was pretty effective. So there's nothing like that for Hydra, but I think there's an opportunity there.
It'll come. If you build it, they will come, and you've already built it. So I mean, the march is happening, I think, right now, so to speak.
But I mean, I don't think necessarily Hydra needs it. I mean, if you look at Hyper, it's already back to profitability and doing really well. And being paired to TitanX just makes Hydra mining ROI probably bounce back faster. So I think it doesn't need it to be successful, but I think it's just another great way of amplifying.
Yep, I would agree. Well, that is all so much to think about, and actually super, super, super exciting to consider what Titan Farms' implication is going to be. I mean, the long-term vision of Hydra. Do you have anything else that you wanted to bring up while we're chatting?
No, I mean, I think it's just a testament to how good like the Hydra launch went. That you know, we're already almost past it, but in a good way. Like it's sustainable. It has so much in the buy and burn. You know, the buy and burn's being refilled. We're burning $3,800 every 30 minutes. We're buying, sorry, not burning. So it's massively successful. There's a really bright future in it, and yeah, check out Hydra if you haven't yet. Consider maybe longer miners. It's probably going to do what Hyper did, hopefully in a more abbreviated way. And that's kind of the plan for it. So yeah, check it out. I mean, it's been super successful. That's all I can say about Hydra right now. Is just it kind of did exactly what it was supposed to do in the best way possible. And if you look at the TitanX chart now, it's absolutely ripping. I think we hit an all-time high yesterday, right? So yeah, I mean, my focus right now is TitanX adoption and getting farms out. So that's kind of where I am right now.
I think that's perfect. I mean, TitanX is such a cool tool for adoption because it's so simple to understand in terms of, hey, deflationary, super scarce asset built on something that's already, going to become rare. And I mean, you can, just to put things simply, people can understand it. There's no mining, there's no nothing. It's just, dude, buy this thing. It's built on these other things, and it's made for number go up. And if everything else works properly, that should happen.
And that's where I want the next thousands of people should hopefully be coming in with very little knowledge. Like they probably won't be these diehard DeFi people necessarily. We want to have people that are retail coming in, right? People coming in from other tokens where all they did was buy and hold. I think that's what's cool about TitanX is that you don't really need to play a game to be part of it.
Right.
Like some of these other protocols, they require you to play a pretty complicated DeFi game to be a part of it, and that is a barrier. But what's cool about TitanX is that it's reaping the rewards of all these complicated DeFi games, but it's also so simple. All you need to do is buy and hold, and then you can learn more about it as you go. It's kind of like Bitcoin. There's Bitcoin Lightning, there's wrapped Bitcoin, there's self-custody. There's all of these things about Bitcoin, but the first thing people know is I should probably get some Bitcoin. They go to their exchange and they buy it, right? So it's kind of similar to TitanX. Like all you need to know is Joe Paris thinks it's awesome, right? Other people like Rand, maybe one day he'll think it's awesome, right? The other people might think it's awesome one day. So when they're talking about it, like, okay, I know it's cool. I'm gonna get some and take it from there. And TitanX is a good entry point for that reason.
No, I couldn't agree more. And actually, on that note, there's something I guess we said talking about bright future, and it is easy to, and I'll bring this comment up in a second, but I do like to be realistic and consider, well, what would prevent us from, reaching these expectations, not expectations, but these hopes that we have for the system to perform really well. And Linux Master, I'm going to bring your comment up here, but it says bright future. I have heard that before, and fair enough. But let's go down the rabbit hole just to understand, what would have to go wrong? What would have to, not wrong in terms of like smart contracts or anything, but what would have to essentially not happen in order for this system to not perform well? Let's play that game for a second, just so we understand even deeper how things work.
Yep. Now I would say, let's lean into the skepticism. I mean, I would say that the thing that can happen is that we do not have the adoption we want, and the number of people doesn't grow, and these DeFi games don't get new users, and people don't play anymore.
Right.
they take their capital and go elsewhere. So I think that's the biggest risk. I don't think we really have a big risk of that, given how we've launched into where we are in the bull market right now. I don't think we have a risk of the current players stepping away, because now the game is more exciting than ever. The bigger risk would be we can't execute on marketing, right? And the community can't execute on marketing enough to bring in the next 10, 20, 30,000 people. So I think that's where most of the effort from most people should be. And you can just start people with TitanX, So I think we've already really improved our marketing ability as a community. My tweets have a ton of engagement. I know a lot of people also have a ton of engagement. So I would say that, the biggest risk of this happening would be it would be just a lack of new players. So that's the big thing we need to try to overcome.
Right.
It's a big focus of myself and a lot of other people in the ecosystem.
And to your credit as well, I've seen it's kind of making me laugh, because I swear every time I go on X to Twitter, to see what's happening with the community, get a sense of what different sentiments are at. I swear one of the first things I always see is a new tweet from you. So and plenty of engagement on it to back up what you're saying. And I mean, that's something that everyone can do. Like if you go to the beginning of our stream, we were talking about for marketing, this whole green circle around the profile picture. I mean, that's cool marketing, man. Like everyone's got that. I mean, that's one small thing you can do. And just by not slowly, but just doing your part, tweeting, whatever social media you're a part of. I mean, the growth is exponential in that front. And I mean, to go back to also what you said about you don't see the growth not happening. I mean, well, let's look at the case for that. I mean, you've got guys like Joe Paris. Or Joe Perry's. Is Joe Perry's or Joe Paris? I can't remember.
I'm not sure either.
I don't want to butcher his name. Okay, I'll call him Joe Paris. You've got him starting to talk about it. You've got a lot of the big Hex and Pulse content creators that are slowly starting to, talk about it more. Even guys that necessarily aren't on YouTube, but they're big on X. You've got a lot of shifting going on. You've got guys talking about it over across seas like Rand Paul, and who knows when they're going to actually talk about it publicly. But there is, if we were to play that game, it seems to me like the outcome of it not going well is falling out of favor in terms of probability, just based on the trajectory we're going, how the shifts are happening, what's being built, how much is being talked about. And I mean, anything can happen, absolutely. But to me, on a as objective as I could possibly be, because obviously you can't not be subjective, but in an objective-ish way that I could possibly be, things are growing and blossoming, and it doesn't seem like it's slowing down. So I think that's extremely bullish and extremely important to understand as we head into what is about to be the bull run. We're not even there yet, and we're getting this kind of growth. That's another important thing to consider. We're not even gaining momentum like the rest of the market will over the course of the next 12-ish months. And I think that's a huge case to understand for any sort of even healthy skepticism.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you look at the entire market, we're actually leading the market by a lot. We're already ripping. I mean, the bull market, it still hasn't really even started yet. Achilles heel will be lack of marketing, like any other business. It dies without marketing. Yes, the biggest sin in crypto is abandonment, right? So that's ultimately what we're fighting, is people abandoning the system. Yeah, exactly. That's why market is just so important. It's really 90% of what needs to happen at this point, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think more people should be focused on it. And that's why I like the idea of if there was a service you could build, because then you're not just launching another token to the same people. You have a reason to market to other people. You have a reason to reach out to people that aren't in the community because they're potential customers. So I think about that a lot. I think about what kind of service you could do. But yeah, I mean, marketing is the biggest one right now. I want to get on. I have the Joe Paris stream. I talked to Ivan. I would like to maybe get Ivan involved, but who knows if we'll get him. Yeah, so there's quite a few people, and yeah, there's some Pulse Chain people who are also interested, which is good.
It's huge. It's very huge. Man, there's so much. This stream has been fire beyond belief, especially with the farms. We're talking about Hydra, talking about the future.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so hard to contain you know, excitement and just channel it into creative stuff, because it's so easy to get fixed on stuff and get super hyped and just sit here and, like, you know, fantasize about the future. But do you have anything else that you want to bring the audience before we sign off today? Because there's already been, this has been an action-packed stream.
No, I mean, check out Hydra if you haven't. If you're not in DragonX yet, just consider how few people there are in DragonX relative to even the TitanX community. Like we're actually, I mean, I'm showing the biggest KOLs this project and they're like really licking their lips. And we've done this with only 2,500 users. It's actually crazy to think how big this thing could be if we get 10 or 20,000 users. Like
Seriously.
we can really be a top 10, top 20 coin, really. Like it's, the fundamentals are all there, you know, and the pumpamentals are there too. So we just need users, you know? So it's the number of people that are outside of something versus the number of people that are in that determine how much is left on the bone. And right now, it's like we haven't even taken a single bite. You know, it's just, there's so much left. Yeah, we haven't even started just based on the numbers. If you were to like look at, say, Hex or Zen or any of the big meme coins, and you look at how many people are in DragonX, it's like we haven't even started. It might as well be day one, even after all this price action.
Which is insane to think about, like, seriously. So,
and none
I'm
of these
excited
things
for
are
the future.
like Hydra is not going away. This is the new DragonX. The new DragonX has something burning every single day tokens, right? Keep that in mind. Like, this is the new DragonX now. It's a constant burner.
That is cool, man. Real quick before I transition here, I just want to acknowledge some comments here. Vibra Finance, Jake is the GOAT of 2024. Best ecosystem in crypto right now. Congrats, sir. Dude, I would second that, Jake, man. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here with us. And dude, like I've said this before, I think you cracked the code wide open for people to start a new path for DeFi. And look at where we are. So, man, I could not agree more with that comment. And also, I see Silver, it's cool. Silver the Antidote's in here, which if you're familiar with him, very, very well-known guy in Hex, very, very smart dude's got lots of crazy data points. He's been, you know, going deeper than most people can handle on a lot of fronts and bringing some serious info to the community whenever he's around. And
yeah, I actually have a funny story about Silver, and I actually met him in person, but way back in the early days. I don't want to dox him or anything, but yeah, way back in the early days, we actually were both Hexicans in early 2020, and I was basically out rafting in Turkey and like the rapids in some random like river in Turkey, and there was another guy there who was into crypto, but we never actually talked about Hex, even though we were both in Hex. It turned out later on, I saw a guy making Hex videos, and it turned out to be him.
Oh, wow.
So we've actually met before. I'm sure now he'll remember me, but yeah, we've crossing paths yet again. How are you, man?
That's cool. That's hilarious. Well, Silver, thanks for being here, man. I know you're big in the Hex community and into the Hex Pulse Chain stuff. So it's cool to see you in here. And yeah, like you said,
Silver, I would love your TA on DragonX. I love your thoughts on DragonX and TitanX, and just generally how the chart is looking and how you think it compares to other ecosystems and all the great TA you do. It would really be very welcomed with us. You get a lot of new users and viewers. You definitely get a lot of retweets from me.
Yep, I'd be super curious to hear what you have to say on the TitanX front and all the data, the technicals, and everything. Silver, you do some really good work on that front. So I think other than that, though, man, I've got. I don't know what else to go on here. I think we've covered pretty much everything. Unfortunately, yeah, he doesn't. There's no way he remembers. But I got.
He remembers.
What's that? Oh, he does. Yeah. I've got nothing else, man. Do you got anything else for these guys?
No, that was fantastic. Went by too fast.
Yep.
Thanks, guys, for coming in and watching. Appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter.
Yes.
Join the Telegram, dragonx.win. And yeah, definitely follow me on Twitter, guys. I'm trying to pump those numbers up.
And what's your Twitter so people? It's G1 Eric, right?
G1 Eric. Yeah.
On Twitter, and I'll post that in the chat here. Make sure I got that right. Oh, hold on. Let me just. Is this one? I got it right?
Yes.
Yep. Go follow him. He's a madman on the Twitters, always posting the most bullish tweets. So if you want to be hyped about this ecosystem 24/7, he is your guy. And yeah, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I hope you learned a ton. I'm way more pumped than I thought I was going to be by the end of the stream. And I was already thinking I was going to be pretty pumped because we always have so much great stuff to talk about. So thank you all for being here. Yeah, Have a great day.
Yeah.
We'll catch you guys in the next one very soon. Peace and see ya.
See you later.